Did you know that there are pieces in Valheim that can float? And that you can use these pieces in a number of ways to make floating bases to live in? More on that later though. As you can see, this build floats, and because of that, it technically covers over 96 meters of elevation in total. Not to mention, it's built on top of a mountain, so it's pretty up there. In fact, it's so high up that it's actually in the clouds. Also, it's made up of almost 15,000 pieces, and it's fully connected by the best system of portals that I've ever put together. This is the castle in the clouds. Alright, welcome to the build. We're over here at the bottom of the build, but we're also at the top of the mountain. This is where we're going to be getting started, and you can see how big this mountain is. It's kind of crazy. We're definitely up here in the clouds. I just had to wait for one to pass so I could film actually. But let's go ahead and head up this staircase. You can see it's pretty wide, so you can use it easily. We've got some nice handrails, some lighting, some trees, some banners, pretty cool. And over here, we've got the floating island. I think it turned out pretty cool, but I want to go ahead and show you guys how I built this first starting area. First things first, I started with the wood frame for the stairs. I built it from the inside curve. After that, I added the actual stone stairs and stone pieces below the frame. If you aren't building with a mod, you will need to use something like trees or hidden rocks or cleverly raised ground to support your structures in a situation like this. But after that, I added a handrail to the stairs, I added some banners, and I added some stone arches underneath. Then it was time to create the platform to work on. You can see I started by spawning in rocks to make a nice ramp. After that, I used a different rock, but now up a bit higher and surrounding the lower entrance, which I thought would feel really cool when you're walking up to the front door. Then I built a flat area for the main build, I built a raised area around that for the towers, and I finished it all up with some rocks underneath to try to make it feel like a magical floating island. Now, if you've seen my videos before, you know that I like to make a plan for a large build. Alright, so that is how I built the front area. Let's head up the staircase and move on to the next area. Check it out. This is the front entrance. I think this turned out really cool with kind of the stone walls surrounding you here as you come up. The staircase kind of changes into a natural stone staircase, and then you've got these really nice stone pillars on the sides. You'll see these actually all over the build. You can see that I even took the wood and carried it into the actual build itself, which I want to go ahead and show you how I built the main keep. So starting with a blueprint is really nice. For the main keep, I already knew the general size and scale. I just needed to fill in the building with the style I wanted. Using a lot of stone for a castle-like feel, I started off with the front entrance. I built a place to walk above the front entrance to look down from the castle walls. I built the little hallway leading up to the front door, and then I built 2 pillars with wood, banners, and deer trophies. After that, I had to fill in the roof. I started the roof of the building going from 26 at the bottom to 45-degree roof pieces at the top. Then I worked on the front roof and the wall underneath. The wall is 1 meter thick so that I could have a thicker entrance. I added details to the walls with stone bottoms and wood outlined banners. Then I finished the roof by bringing it up over the edge of the building and by adding some trimming details, and then by adding a fun feature to the top middle of the roof. Alright, so now that you know how I built it, let's check out the main keep. Here in the dining room, we've got a lot of room to work with. Some nice details up on the ceiling, some hanging lighting, a little loft over here, and even another kind of loft over there, which we'll check out in a second. We've got some pretty cool little floor designs here. And let's go ahead and head to the back of the room where we can look here out the arched windows. And you can just check out like the view of the back of the mountain, which I think turned out pretty nice. Some extra details here and there, some locks, rugs to keep your toes warm as you're out in the snowy breeze. But as we head back into the dining room, I did want to talk about this little staircase, kind of a custom staircase. Well, not really custom, but I mean, you know, we've got these nice little poles here, which kind of just add to the more simple spiral staircase. And then here we've got a little bit of a balcony. So I think here, this would be like where you could defend against a raid a little bit, kind of shoot some arrows if you wanted to quickly get outside from the dining room. And what's cool is you can actually do this on both sides of the dining hall. You can head out this side and you can see that we've got another wall where you could defend against a raid, or you could check out your visitors coming up the stairs. And this is where you can see the first portal. You'll see these all throughout the build. I'll explain it in a little bit, but I mean, essentially, there's just portals everywhere and it kind of saves you time. You can see we've got the tower over here with like some storage built into it. And then we've got the tower over here on this side with more storage, more details, and even a fireplace. Throughout the build, I do have everything from the actual crafting menu. And so if you are a channel member, you will actually be able to use this in survival. Those of you that are my ultimate members, you'll get this world right away. And you can see the little kitchen here. And then of course, those of you that are my advanced members, as usual, this build will be brought down to the advanced tier in a few months. Heading through the kitchen, we've got a little hallway here, which brings you to a spiral staircase heading up to the top of this tower. And that actually brings me to where I want to show you guys how I built the walls. These walls needed to provide access to the towers up above, so at a minimum, they needed to be wide enough to walk across, which is of course what was planned for in the original blueprint. So using the blueprint, I filled in the walls, then the floors, and then I started adding some nice details. After that, I built a small tower at the end of the wall, which has a spiral staircase. It also has arched windows, and then I finished up the first wall with some crenellations. Then moving over to the other wall, I knew exactly what I wanted to do because it was the same thing, but just in a larger scale. All right, so now you've seen the walls. We've got the taller walls on this side, the shorter walls on this side, but you can see they are definitely wide enough. And this leads us to the first tower that I built. The first tower started off with the basic shape first. It has spots for pillars on the bottom, it has spots for stone lines, and it has spots for arched openings for a level that will be mostly open. After that, I finished up the walls by filling out the pillars and stone floors with wooden lines and details, and also by creating a balcony on the middle floor and even a similar balcony on the top floor. After that, I built out the interior of the tower. I then of course added a roof to the top of the tower using a roof frame first things first. Then I used 45-degree O-corners and roof pieces on the first layer. Then I added some extra roof features with 45 then 26-degree beams. And then I filled the roof with a few more fun and optional roof pieces and also some final pieces filling out the center peak. All right, so let's head up into the first tower. This is the transportation tower, so it's mainly just a big staircase. You can see we've got a really cool little custom pillar here, kind of a floating staircase design. And as we go up into the next floor, another big, large pillar and a floating staircase leading us up to more transportation related stuff, the portal room. We'll talk about this more in just a minute. But I want to talk about the next thing that I built, which was actually the second tower. So we're going to head back down to the keep and we're going to head through the second hallway. First, we went through the hallway by the kitchen, but now we can go over here where, oh, I forgot to close this. And so we've got a little area here for potions, I guess, you know, mead. And then you've got like storage for the individual ones with like the little label at the top so you can quickly grab them. Thought this was a cool little area. And then we can head up over into the taller wall where we've got first a little bonus area. I just thought I'd use this spot for something instead of just have it not used. And so I decided to use it for a spa. I made some little custom chairs, which you can actually sit in and you could get like a little suntan or something, little place to kind of hang up your robe here at the spa and hop down into the hot tub. Pretty cool little area, kind of in the shade over here on this side. And then you can head up to the taller wall. We've got the shorter wall down there, the taller wall here, really adding those different elevations to add some character to the build. And this is going to head down the pathway here and to the second tower. First, I again filled in the basic shape of the tower with the same wood beam traced stone floor details and with some arched windows. Next, to keep the theme the same, I brought over pretty much the same balcony design from the first tower, but with a design that fit this tower's size and shape. Then I filled the interior of the tower, starting off with the first floor. I then of course added a roof to the top of the tower using a roof frame and then using 45-degree O corners to fit the corners and roof pieces to fill in the sides. Then I built this second layer of the roof with more 45-degree roof pieces. I then built another roof frame so that I could have an extra feature at the top of the roof. And after that, I finished it up with 45-degree roof pieces. All right, so the inside of the second tower is pretty cool. We've got kind of an area to live and an area to work. So first things first, you've got some beds over here underneath this loft with some storage and everything. We've got some storage and cabinets on the back, another portal to quickly travel around the build. And then we've got some more beds over here on this side, a little throne to sit in. And then we can head upwards. Actually, before I head upwards, check out this view of all the different floors. I think that turned out so cool. Kind of unintentional, but hey, I'll take it. So as we get up here to the loft, this is actually a little library. Now, I didn't really have a lot of room to work with here, but I thought it'd be cool to have like a big giant bookshelf here. I used signs here to look like books. I added trophies and other things to add some extra details. And then you've even got some vertical item frames over here and a little table for some smaller books. So here on the next floor, we've got another portal to travel around quickly. And this is kind of the workshop floor of the second tower. So you've still got view of, the views. I definitely want to keep those views accessible, but I did want to have a majority of this floor kind of filled with the workbench and the forge, a little table to work with, artisan table, really make this feel like a workshop. And here at the top floor, since it's at the very top, I thought it would only be fitting to have kind of a lookout tower up here, a view of everything around. So that's what we've got. Nothing too crazy. Really cool roof up above, which I always like to look at, especially with these big towers. They usually end up with some cool roofs. But that leads us to the first floating island that I built, the Workshop Island. The first thing I built was a bridge for access. I would come by later and add a covering over the bridge. After that, I built a platform for the island. After that, I decided to add another elevation to the platform to separate the space a bit. Then I finished up the platform with some vertical elements and the crafting menu elements for the workshop. Kind of a crazy, funky bridge here because of how it connects with the side of the tower, but you can't fall through these gaps or anything. It actually just turned out to be a pretty nice little fun design, little wood covering, which I added later on. And out here, it's nothing too fancy. This is really just an extension of the workshop. We've got a little bench here, which kind of has a back on some of the parts. We've got a little storage area here, a couple different kilns, some tables to work at. Blast furnace, little raised things here to kind of separate. I find that a little bit of vertical elevation in a build is really nice. Just having no roof out here, this kind of adds a little bit of a roof feeling. But let's go ahead and head back where we actually went right past the bridge. So when I built the bridge, I actually built the whole back of the build. For the balconies, you can see that I used the same balconies from the towers copied over for the two little viewpoints in the back of the dining room. Then I added a simple deck above that for a castle wall type of walkable area. Then I added some tall pillars, which I updated later to have more of the same wooden details like all of the other pillars we've already seen. And then I finished it all up with a fun bridge that kind of twists and turns at the very top, connecting the two large towers. So the bridge, once again, we've got kind of a wood covered little area here, and you can head across the really weird shaped bridge over into the transportation tower, which is pretty cool. It's kind of connected up at the top, or it's connected down at the bottom through the main keep. It's kind of a big loop. We'll talk about that more in just a moment. I'll show you guys a little map kind of pointing out where all the portals go, but here is the next island that I built. This island I like to call the Party Boat Island because of the mead barrels and the fact that it is a floating rock. I started on this island just like the first with a bridge connecting up to the tower, and once again later I came back through and added a wood covering. After the bridge I added some rocks, which you can see this one has some holes in it, and that's because I used the inside of the rock. More on that in a second. I then built a platform on top of the rock. And then after that, I worked on a staircase which goes down and around the rock so that you can access the inside. Alright, so let's head over to the Party Boat Island. Now I'm calling it the Party Boat Island because over here, we're kind of focused on food and drinks. So we've got beehives for honey with a little mini roofs, so they're kind of protected. We've got windmills for flour, and we've got another little bench. You can sit and enjoy the views, a bench, and then you can head down the staircase over here to the drinking room, the party room. Pretty cool little space in here, probably my favorite space in the whole build. You can sit and relax, or you can get quickly back to the portal room. You can store some things over here. And the coolest thing I think is that there's like little windows through the rocks. You can actually see the staircase coming down. I don't know, just a really fun little thing. But let's head back through this portal right up to the portal room. And here we've got our 4 portals, and I'm not going to go into this too much, but you can just see how all the different connections of the portals kind of save you time moving throughout the build. And you'll see that some of those connections actually go up to a floating island up top. The final island, the only way you can access it is by portal. This is the Mistlands Tower. Starting with the bottom floor, I added some arched windows with some regular stone bricks and some stone floors with wood beam trim. Then I brought in the same pillar design from the rest of the build, and after that I built a small covering around the windows which kind of connects with the pillars and creates this really thick bottom of the tower, kind of giving it that like realistic tower feel. The second floor is pretty simple with similar details and a few arched windows. Then onto the third floor, I brought in the wall details, then brought in the classic balcony design from the rest of the build. I then finished it all up with a roof frame and then 45-degree and then 26-degree roof pieces for the roof. Alright, so the Mistlands Tower here on the bottom floor, you can see we've got a little staircase with a view. We've got some storage here, another staircase with a view. So as we head up the stairs, you're going to see that I've only really used dim lighting here because it's kind of the Mistlands crafting tower. So I thought a darker feel made more sense. So we've got more dim lighting here. We've got the Galder table and the enhancements, the wisp fountains, really getting those like purple dark vibes here on the second floor. And then up here on the third floor, we've got this monstrosity of iron. And what's cool is I've kind of made this little fun area here where you can access the top. You can actually walk on this little area here. So maybe you could like work on the machine, which I thought was a fun little area to have. And then over here on this side, you can of course open this side with an iron door. And yeah, just a fun little kind of cage here. Nothing too fancy, but I tried to add just a little bit of extra things to it so that it was kind of fun. We've got some final details over here, your black forge, your carapace armor. Alright, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, if you could help me out and leave a like or subscribe, it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you want to check me out on my other social medias, the links are in my banner. Thanks again, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.